The contract metadata that contains information about the current contract automatically generates the JSON LE. The contract metadata that contains information about the current contract. It can be used to query the compiler version, the sources used, the ABI and NatSpec documentation in order to more safely interact with the contract and to verify its source code. The compiler appends a swarm hash of the metadata LE to the end of the bytecode. For details, see below, of each contract so that you can retrieve a in an authenticated way without being sought to a centralized data provider. Of course, you have to publish the metadata LE to Swarm, or some other service, so that others can access it. The LE can be output by using salt metadata and the LE will be called contract name _meta.json. It will contain Swarm references to the source code, so you have to upload all source LEs and the metadata LE. The metadata LE has the following format. The example below is presented in a human-readable way. Properly formatted metadata should use quotes correctly, reduce white space to a minimum and sort the keys of all objects to arrive at unique formatting. Comments are of course also not permitted and used here only for explanatory purposes. Required. The version of the metadata format version 1. Required. Source code language basically selects a subversion of the specification language. Solidity. Required. Details about the compiler. Contents are specific to the language compiler. Required for solidity. Version of the compiler version 0.4.6 plus commit.2 dabadef0.mscripton.clang. Optional. Hash of the compiler binary which produced this output kcac256 0x123. Required. Compilation source. Files source units. Keys are file names sources. myfile.sol. Required. kcac256 hash of the source file. kcac256 0x123. Required. Unless content is used. See below sorted URL s to the source file. Protocol is more or less arbitrary, but a swarm URL is recommended. URLs bzzr56ab mortal continues on next page 7.7. Contract metadata 125. Solidity documentation, release 0.4.24, continued from previous page, required, kcac256 hash of the source file, kcac256 0x234, required, unless, URL, is used literal contents of the source file, content, contract mortal is owned, function kill, if, msg.sender is equal to, owner, self-destruct, owner, required, compiler settings, required for solidity, sorted list of remappings, gdir, optional, optimizer settings, enabled, defaults to false, optimizer, enabled, true, runs, 500, required for solidity, file and name of the contract or library this metadata is created for. Compilation target, myfile.sol, my contract, required for solidity, addresses for libraries used libraries, mylib, 0x123123, required, generated, required, ABI definition of the contract ABI, required, NatSpec user documentation of the contract user doc, required, NatSpec developer documentation of the contract devdoc. Note the ABI definition above has no shade order. It can change with compiler versions. Note, since the bytecode of the resulting contract contains the metadata hash.